Hello, Guardians. It is Ebontis here, and I'm going to talk to you guys about Trials of Osiris, which is something I honestly did not think I'd be saying anytime soon. But I've played about 50 matches this weekend. I have opinions. I've got some rewards. So let's jump into Trials of Osiris in Season of the Lost. Alright, the first thing to know is Trials has changed quite a bit. So if you have been living under a rock, haven't heard about all the changes that were coming, Trials of Osiris is a different game mode now. Some people will say the sanctity of the game mode is gone, but let me explain what has changed. It is still 3v3 elimination. That's still going to be there. But one of the first changes you're going to see right here is Fire Team. 1, 2, 3 players. So whether you're a solo person, you're a 2-stack, or you're a 3-person match, a team coming in, you are all going to be matched up together. Sometimes a solo player will match up with 2 other solo players, and they're going to face 3 solo players. It's a bit chaotic, but everybody's kind of level. Sometimes a solo player with 2 other solo players will face a 3-stack, and they will get stomped. But the idea is, if you are a solo player, you can jump into this mode. If you're a 2-stack, you don't have that third person, you can still jump into this mode. Now, the matchmaking is still going to work the way it does. Crucible is console completely, so PlayStation's, Xbox, and Stadia. And then PC is separate. If you are a console player and you play crossplay with somebody on PC, you have now entered the PC pool. But again, if you're on console, you're still not messing with PC players. Level advantages enabled, that's still always going to be there. Third-person camera restrictions. So you can't pull out a sword and peek around a corner. You can't emote around a corner. There's no more like peeking lanes without peeking lanes anymore, which is a good thing. The crossplay required literally just says what I mean. It's you have to activate your Bungie account is basically all that means, and then you're going to be in the general crossplay pool for whatever system you're going to be on. Final thing is they've also added a couple restrictions to be able to get into it in the first place. One, we have the anti-cheat that started this season with a pretty soft launch and is, trickling to be more and more functional. They're kind of trying to crack down on both account recoveries and win trading, which is a good thing, which means you're playing the people you're actually matching up against. And then finally, there's a paywall on this thing, which is something I've been waiting on for a long time. You have to own the Beyond Light annual expansion to play Trials of Osiris. And if you don't, you're not playing it. Now, some people say it's like, oh, I want to free to play this game. If you're playing hard enough that you're going into a level advantage enabled competitive playlist, it's most likely you're probably kind of ingrained into Destiny in the first place, or you probably should, if you like it enough, see about picking up at least the annual expansion. Now, granted, it may be more advantageous if you're a new player to wait for Witch Queen, because that will then change from Beyond Light that you need to own to Witch Queen. But again, when Witch Queen launches, you will have to own Witch Queen to play Trials of Osiris. So you will have to own the annual expansion for whatever year it is to play this game mode. And that helps because cheaters, if they get an account ban, they can't just go make another free one. Now they have to buy the annual expansion again. And at some point, their wallet is not going to be very happy about that. That will push people away who are cheating, which is a good thing. So the anti-cheat, win trading account recovery crackdown, and the paywall for the annual expansion hopefully will make this a safer playlist for normal players, not cheaters, which is a good thing. So just jumping into the mode has changed because the fact that I'm by myself and I can sit here and click launch, have not been able to do that ever in Destiny 2. And what did this do to the playlist this weekend? It has the most players it has ever had in Destiny 2. Trials of the Nine, Trials of Osiris. More players have played Trials of Osiris this weekend than in Destiny 2. One of the stats I saw was like 2 million solo players queued in, about 500,000 2-person teams, and about 1 million 3-man teams. So there were more solo players playing, but again, the 3-man team is made up of 3 players, so again, the population might swing that way, but generally, there's a large chunk of people who are playing this thing solo. So we're early in the season, the hype's still here, because we had the revamped Trials, but the fact that you can go in solo sometimes is going to be a good thing. You might have those matches where everybody's solo, and you have kind of an interesting, sweaty match. You may win, you may lose, but you feel like it's, kind of balanced chaos. On the other side, you may be a solo player, couple random people you join up with, and there's an orchestrated, flawless, gilded 3-stack you go up against, and you feel like you just got stepped on, not in a good way. So there are ups and downs to the matchmaking right now. I would say if you are a solo player, do not take this too seriously, because there's still plenty of rewards that you can get even if you lose a good amount of your matches, of which I probably have only won about 25% of mine. And I'll kind of explain why I lost so many. But the idea is, even if I lose, I'm still earning rank, and that's where the rewards come in. So that's where the second change happened, and that's right here at Mr. Saint 14, which I love hearing his commentary, by the way. Just the fact that I'm in the playlist and I hear him talk all the time, his commentary is fantastic, and I never really played this mode before, so I never really got to hear it. It's a blast listening to him commentate, good, bad, or otherwise. He's just fun to listen to, so I had to say that. But the idea is, he got a rework the way some of the other vendors got a rework recently, where they have ranks and you have certain progress that you work through, and you're going to be getting trials engrams. This is one of the coolest things they did. So every rank, whether it's Fabled 2, Fabled 3, Heroic 1, Heroic 2, Heroic 3, every time you go up a rank, whatever, if it's not named or single, you get a trials engram. You can do two things with the trials engram. You can pick up the trials engram, you can go over to Master Rahul and decrypt the engram, and you're going to get something from the trials loot pool. It could be literally anything that I've listed here except the adept weapon. It could be any of the weapons or any of the armor, even if you've never earned it before. And the nice thing is, if you are missing things and you want at least one of those things, I don't know if I just got extremely lucky, but every time I took an engram over to Rahul, I got something I had not received before. So I have one of everything now. I got one of everything over the course of this weekend. It's been kind of crazy. The other option, if you've earned things before and you want to go after a specific role, say you're like, I don't care about the sniper, but I earned a messenger, but it was kind of crap before. Well, you can take that trials engram and you can focus it, and that one's going to give you a messenger. Yes, it's going to be a random roll, but you don't have to go through the entire loot pool. You can just be like, every engram I get, I'm going to turn this into a messenger until I get the good roll. It's 20,000 glimmer. That is not hard to get. And 100 legendary shards. For an average player, that's not that bad either. For a new player, that's going to be steep. But again, if you're a new player, probably spend some time getting used to the game before you jump straight into this. So the nice thing is you can take these engrams and you can kind of first off complete your collection. And then you can figure out, be like, I only need one Soulless Scar just in case I need a sword for whatever reason. But it's like Shayura's Wrath, this, SMG is really good. Let me keep dumping every engram in here until I get one that's pretty good. Maybe not a god roll, but I can really focus into that loot. So overall, the loot that you can get is really good. And it gets even better. You have to buy a passage to go into trials. I started with this one, the Ferocity one, because if you win your third match, you basically also win your fourth match. And when you're going through, you need to do two things. One, you need to win 50 rounds. That's going to give you one Pinnacle drop. And the other Pinnacle drop is getting 7 wins on a card. The cards have changed because you notice it says Flawless. Mine currently has an X because I lost a round. I could lose 20 rounds, but this card is not going to expire or go defunct because it's either a flawless card or it's not. If I lose a match or 2 or 3 or 12, it doesn't matter. I can still keep trying to get the wins so I can eventually get up to 7. So that is one incentive as a solo player. Even if you don't have some matches that don't go well, every so often you're going to get a match that does, and you're going to hopefully eventually get those wins. Every so often you're going to get paired up with somebody who's really good, and you're not going to go against the 3-stack, and you're going to have a good match, and you're going to eventually get those wins. So alone, just by playing 50 rounds, that is if you do best of 9, there's 9 rounds in that match, you could win up to 5 of them. If you win a match, that counts as another point, and you're going for 50 rounds. Well, I mean, if you get 7 wins, that's 35. You miss a few, but you get a few wins in there. I had my 50 rounds done before my 7 wins, and then by the time I got the 7 wins, that's 2 pieces of loot alone. I also earned some ranks, so I think I've got 12 different trials drops over the course of one weekend, and I played the whole thing solo. I lost a lot of matches, and I still got about 12 different pieces of loot from this game mode. I got armor that wasn't perfect stat rolls, but they were decent. They were all at least, I think, 60 and up. I probably had 159, but they were all about 60 and up. Decent, and I've got one of everything. I got the new Stasis linear fusion rifle. I got 2 of those because I was like, okay, PvE person, I want to make sure I dump a couple engrams into that thing. So the fact that I can get a good amount of loot for being a solo player, even if every so often it feels like I'm bashing my head against a wall going against 3-stacks over and over, I still got a lot of rewards over the course of, it was a decent amount of hours, but even when I started with my first 25 matches, which can go fairly quick if you get stomped, you're still getting rank. Now, one thing I did switch over to, just to try, I had taken my Passage of Ferocity up to 7 wins. Now, when you're at 7 wins and you're flawless, obviously you get to go to the Lighthouse. The difference is now, if you keep a flawless card and you go back into the queue and you win again, you have a chance at things like Ascendant Shards. You also have a chance at another Adept drop. And you can keep doing that. If you have a flawless card and then you get 5 more wins. You might get 3 more submachine gun adepts for the weekend, and you're just sitting there getting wins over and over, and you're getting chance at that flawless loot. So those people who typically would take a card to flawless, reset, and start back over at 1, and then be a crazy 3-stack against somebody who's like trying to jump into their first mode, they've now given incentive to the person who has gone to 7 wins to keep their card at 7 wins, which is huge for the average person. They've also done the same thing for a normal person like me. Granted, it's obviously a lot harder, and this is what happened to me. I got my wins up to 7, and the only problem is, at that point, if I solo queue against a group of people who are all in that 7-win category, a lot of those people are going to be 3-stacks because now they're trying to farm at that level and get more rewards. Because if you don't have a flawless card, but you still have 7 wins, and say you win 1 or 2 matches, I keep hearing it might be like 50% or maybe a little less. Maybe every 2 or 3 wins that you get, even though you're not flawless, but you have 7 wins, if you keep playing at 7 wins and every 2 or 3 wins, you get another engram, that's a lot of loot. If you can get another engram every like 2 or 3 matches, that's going to start to stack up to a lot of rewards. The problem for me as a solo player, at 7 wins, I faced a ton of 3-stacks, and I probably lost like 15 matches in a row, and it just hurt. Now, granted, I could just be unlucky. I'm also on PC, so maybe there's more 3-stacks around here. Maybe console's a bigger pool, and there's more of a mix. So, again, depending on if you guys played this weekend, please comment below. Let me know how your whole Trials experience was. Believe me, the more detailed, the better. I'm going to be looking at these comments for the podcast on Thursday. But I turned around and I was like, okay, let me see how it feels if I turn the card down. This is Sunday. And I reset the card. I got the Passage of Wealth. So now, if I get, 3, 5, or 7 wins on a ticket, any of those wins, basically at every match is going to give me more rewards. So I don't need to get my 7 wins again. So this one is less beneficial. But more rank points for any win that I get, sign me up. So it's like I started here, got my 7 wins, started over here. And my first couple matches were great. It was like a 2-1, 2-1. Everybody was solo. It felt like it did some of the first matches I played. Now, if I go back up to 7 wins, I'm going to be in that 7-win crazy pool of people who are trying to farm that level. But for me, at least I can go through this again and get a somewhat balanced experience. So I still am, the jury for me is still out how I feel with regards to a freelance playlist, which is, if you jump into that playlist, only solos go in there, kind of like Iron Banner is. The big worry of that is the population. Right now, if we have the most players we've ever had, probably would be okay at this moment. 4 months later, in this 6-month season, when a lot of people are maybe taking breaks, things are going on, and you have 2 different playlists for Trials, which already had a small collection of people that were playing in the first place, people worry about fracturing that player base even more and making matchmaking kind of a nightmare for some. One thing, they are going to try Freelance in Crucible Labs. I am very curious to see how that weekend goes for solo players if there's a ton of people in there. But on the other side, if they never have a Freelance playlist ever, the solo player population is going to trickle off at a certain point in any season, because at some point you're just facing people that are just going to smash you in the face every time. Like, I've seen it a couple places on Twitter. I kind of had the same idea. If you could have like a Freelance weekend once a month or once every 3 weeks, give it a decent enough rotation where normally the population's pretty whole, but every so often split that up and give the Freelance an option so that solo base has a lot more of a balanced run through their weekend and they can spend more time. Because if I was only facing solos, and even though I was at a 7-win card, I may be having some sweatier matches, but I can promise you some of those I would win, some of those I would lose, just by the sheer idea of solo matchmaking, and most people are not working on a team. If I'm a solo player and I constantly match up against 3 people talking on Discord who have a good synergy and work together already, I'm pretty screwed. So in general, I want to see how the Freelance playlist goes, but I will definitely say, between the bounties that you can run, which basically, as the fire team, you accomplish most of these things. The rewards you can get from the engrams, like play enough and you're going to get some engrams. The reputation rank, you're going to unlock a few weapons. And then you can either focus into something. If you're looking for like 10 messengers, just go straight into that if you've got one. Or you can unlock the rest of the loot by taking these engrams over to Rahul. This is a good thing. So generally, I'm going to say most everything this weekend has been positive. The thing for me as a solo player is getting stomped by a 3-stack. But I know not everybody's going to have that experience, for one, and 2, people are worried about splitting up the population. Again, that's why I gotta see how these experiments go. But for now, I gotta tell you guys, if you haven't played Trials and you don't typically have people that you play with, please give it a shot. You may get stomped by 3s. Don't take this too seriously. But if you're trying to learn a little bit, understand where somebody like rushed you from, try and, figure out a little bit from the matches against 3s, and then, get ready to get sweaty if you're against, 2-3 stack of solos, then, have some fun, and it's a chance to get loot that most likely as a solo player you would never have seen before. Because there are some pretty good guns in Trials, and usually you couldn't get a chance to play with them. So let me know your thoughts down below about everything about Trials. If you like the idea of this and you didn't play this weekend, if you did play this weekend, drop your comment below. Let me know your thoughts, because I really want to get a collection of how you guys feel, so I can take that information to the podcast on Thursday. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a comment below, but also drop a like on the video as well. If you guys are new to the channel and you want to support me, you can hit the subscribe button, hit the alert bell to make my videos get into your YouTube feed. If you guys want to support me directly, you can hit that join button to join the channel as a member, or you can find me over on Patreon as well. You guys can find me on Twitter at Ebontis, and then for streaming, I stream on twitch.tv/Ebontis, and also right here on the YouTube channel. So thank you guys all. The support's been amazing lately. Thank you, and have a good one.